Thunder, 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 Thundercats! Ho!
They're the world's most fearsome fighting team.
We're really hip.
This is the story of the super force of space explorers.
Good morning, Valhalla! The Blood Witch, a dark high fantasy novel by renowned author Dr. Adega Outlaw. Get your copy of The Blood Witch, which is on sale now on Kindle and Amazon.com, or just click the link in the description of this video. Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Mornings of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki, and yes, that was an advert for Adega Outlaw's book, The Blood Witch. Check it out now. You will not be disappointed. Good morning to my guest this morning, Pops, for Thirsty Thursday. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very blessed, and good morning, Valhalla!
That's right. Damn straight. Damn straight. Good morning, Valhalla. How are all of you? Good morning. Hello, Sean Estep. I almost said Epstein. Jesus Christ. Wake up, Loki. Sean Estep. Good morning, my friend. Project Storytime. One of the wrenches of Valhalla. How are you doing, my friend? Snortapooper Cooper. God, I can't talk this morning. My favorite polar bear on YouTube. Good morning. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington. I did that one, though. Boom. Good morning, my friend. Chris Persia, the wrench of wrenches, is here. Good morning, Chris. How are you doing? Zachariah 315. Good morning, my friend. Good morning. Comic Relief Crusader. How are you doing? Shellback TJC. Joker Voice. Good morning. Pat S. Good morning, my friend. A big shout out to Psychodorp 9, who had surgery this morning and is now resting comfortably at home. Good morning, my friend. Hope you are doing well. He said he'd be lurking. Hopefully you're still listening. Gun Buddy! Good morning, Gun Buddy. How are you doing? Good morning, everybody. Pacific 414, Brandon Looney Tunes fan 2000, Undead Ramen. Good morning, Undead Ramen, Nearsighted Cyclops. Good morning, the Mad Doctor of Disaster and Destruction, Adega Outlaws here in the house. Good morning, Adega. How are you guys doing? It is so good to see everybody. It's so good to see you all here. We're going to have a nice little chat about we're going to have writers' rooms. We're talking about writers' rooms and companies and the dren they have been shilling out to us. Starting with a series that I did not cover at all, that I warned people would be absolutely terrible because of the company it was coming out of. So everybody by now has heard about the dreck that is Obi-Wan Kenobi and Star Wars. Yeah, I didn't watch it. I didn't want to watch it, but a lot of people have watched it. And from everything I've heard, crap. And a lot of that has to do with writing. Same with the new Miss Marvel series that's been released on Disney Plus. Crap writing.
Amen, brother. Amen.
And we just seem to keep getting it, whether it's Halo, whether it is Star Wars, Star Trek. No matter what it is, but then we get something good. We get something like Stranger Things season 4. We get something like The Boys, where we have intelligent adult writers that understand what they're doing, compared to people that seem to be just like plucked out of nowhere. If you were going to make a sci-fi series, an action sci-fi series, would you hire a group of people that did a teenage soap opera? And that's all the work they've ever done.
Yeah, I would look for people that actually had a resume that would be qualified to write my show, that would come in with a pitch and a treatment that would pay homage to the source material that I went through the money to license and pay for. I would look for someone that can elevate that franchise to ignite the fans to go out and spend more money. Hence the reason I paid for this licensing to begin with. And everything right now is to the contrary.
How would you start to fix something like this? If you had the power, if you had the money and the power, what would you do to fix this?
I said this last night on Pacific 414. If I was magically in charge of Lucasfilm tomorrow and I'd purge them all, I don't know what writer I would hire, but I would tell them right now that we are going to do a sequel series. Sebastian Stan will be cast as my Luke Skywalker, as we will adapt Dark Empire / the Timothy Zahn, and we will look for as close to the source material and homage to it as we can, and then we will develop another series that will all be original characters that will extend out somewhere beyond that. That's where I would begin, at least to have those conversations. It may not go anywhere, it may not work, but that's where at least I would start, with something that can actually tap into what the fan love is, and also trying to find a direction that can, actually move stuff forward.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I'd wait though. I'd put a little time frame on it.
This would take This would take 5 to 10 years from now. Even if I got the job today, we can't even go into production for at least 2 to 3 years. This isn't going to be some sort of 6-month nonsense. This is going to be like the way films used to be made, with massive development, massive planning, intricate details, and encyclopedias on these different characters, where they all came from, how they're being developed. And it's like, it would just, none of that is happening. You and I, when we talked about the thing last night, we were talking about how much prep work went into this before they even started rolling film, right? 2 weeks back then was a long time for rehearsal, but the amount of creature development and planning of what was actually going to happen was done long before we were in front of a camera. I feel like so much of that is, well, first off, I know it's out of the window when it comes to like the Disney Plus, HBO Max, CW type content. But I don't even know that I get that with my films anymore.
No, I don't think we do. I don't think we do. And we were talking about that last night, physicality. being on those sets, actually being on that set and being able to touch something, be able to pick it up and go, no, I don't think that's right. Let's do this. Needing more snow. It's got to feel colder. We got to feel like we're in the basement of this place that we've been in the whole time. And this place is cold and barren. So it's got to be even more than that, but with some machinery, and they've actually got to physically create that. And it has to be approved by the director. That's not the way that a lot of it's green screen. A lot of it, they've got the new 360 degree LCD screen sets where they just, oh, well, we're in a desert, and they put you in a desert. Oh, well, we're in a cavern. Okay. They put you in a cavern, and they build everything around that, when they used to actually have to build it, and it'd have to be the way they wanted it to be. You had to be happy about that. Otherwise, no, fix it. Fix it. This isn't right. You need to freaking fix it.
Yeah, Dr. Dragon hitting the nail on the head too, because it's almost like they're treating you like a freaking cocaine addict. Like, well, we know you got your little dose with this, and you might not have liked it, or you did like little pieces. Let me give you another drug so you don't harp on any of the details or how hollow the freaking story and writing is. And then to go back to what you're saying, though, it's even worse, because if you remember when we came out of New Hope, when we look at the story structure for Empire Strikes Back, he purposely wanted to go to landscapes and environments that were completely different, right? We had to go to white-looking snow-filled Hoth. We had to go to the swampland, Dagobah. We had to have space scenes with the asteroids before we get to like the orange setting of Bespin. Very, very much contrasting what we'd went through. We would not keep going back to sand planets. How could everything in the freaking outer rim be the center of the Star Wars universe? Because the writers have zero creativity.
Well, they did that. They did that in Last Jedi, when they destroyed all those planets, and they were like, "Well, that's it. The universe is basically barren now." And you're like, "Wait, what? Wait, you destroyed like 5 planets? Are you saying that was everything?" No, even the games. One of my favorite Star Wars games of all time, of course, Knights of the Old Republic. Do you know how many different planets you travel in that? You know how big? Do you realize how big the universe is? And it's even bigger in 2. It's even bigger in the online game. The universe is vast. It's huge, and they're not all desert planets or frozen planets.
Yeah, I think that they think of those elements of going back to the well in the same way, and the same looks. It's like these positive, because they treat us all like we're a bunch of children, right? They're hiring writers that are void of any life experience. They have no real ability to write character arcs, story arcs, anything that has any sort of plan to it. And then because they are so juvenile in their thinking, that's how they think we are. We can't handle things. We heard this. We were told this in Marvel in large part, right? Because they had to change Miss Marvel's skill set, her special powers, from being stretchy, because people would get confused. We had to change Namor, because if he's from Atlantis and he's whatever, people would get confused with Aquaman. The audience are just too dumb. That's how they look at us, and that's how they treat us, and that's why we're getting basically like juvenile Nickelodeon / Disney Channel content across the board, because they're just morons.
It's inconceivable how poorly they have treated these characters, these shows, these IPs. Loki, I was absolutely disgusted with what they did to Loki. Loki was one of the greatest superhero villains of all time. Before, and I've said that before going into Avengers, before going into Thor, before any of that, I was a huge Loki fan. Why? Because he's always had something to prove. He's always had something pushing him. He's always had something making him be the devil in the dark. And they did that beautifully. Tom Hiddleston played him beautifully. Disney gets a hold of it, and look at the shitty series we got where, well, Loki, you're not really the real Loki. The real Loki is this chick named Sylvie. She's the reason why all of you Lokis are out there doing what you're doing. And it's so just like, really? We're going back to this? Really? We are going back to this. And if you don't like it, by God, you're a sexist, you're an Yahtzee mother effer, and you're evil for not liking it.
Yeah, I told my wife because Loki was one of, if not her favorite character in the MCU. I told her she wasn't allowed to watch the show because in episode 1 we emasculate him by stripping him down, and then by the end of the episode he's crying like a little girl over how he could have been contributing to the death of his mom. It's just like this is not the character that tried to basically plucked an eye out of somebody 5 minutes ago to break into a shield facility. I mean, it's like this is just it was awful. They don't care though. They don't care. There's no sort of respect for any characters, even the ones that they create themselves. Like they contradict themselves within their own show, right? So I don't know. I would love to do an interview with Adega to see how he approached this. But I know when I wrote a book, I took it once I thought I was done. I took a lot of the character arcs and kind of laid them all out. So you were bouncing from different chapters to follow that character's arc to make sure it made sense. So for instance, if the character was in, let's say, chapters 5, 15, 32, 57, whatever, I laid them all out and read it as a story to make sure that it made sense. They can't even do 6 episodes and make sense of a main character. Like we can't look at Halo. They manufactured Miss Mullet and not Dave Chappelle into a story for fluff because they don't exist, made them POCs, made them on a journey that doesn't even make sense, and none of it actually matters.
No, none of
it matters.
Yeah, none of that mattered. None of any what happened matters. That's something they've got to try and come up with in season 2 and make a point of going somewhere. And maybe they won't. Maybe they're just, well, these people are on their journey, and Master Chief, who's not Master Chief, is on his journey, now Cortana. Joker Boy, Sylvie was not Loki. That was the Enchantress. I know that, Joker. They don't know that. They don't know that.
They don't know who Enchantress is.
They just made her Loki. Oh, you're a Loki. You're one of the many Lokis out there. When she was never Loki. She's the Enchantress.
Yeah, I go back to like the life experience thing. Like when you go back and you read like the story of these authors and these writers, these creators, and they're war veterans and they lived a life. When I interviewed Mike Voss and he was talking about how his experience in advertising, his experience becoming a literature major, writing, teaching, how much of that inspired his ability to tell a story, even if it was just through storyboards. And it's like now you have the creator, the co-creator. I don't know if he's anyway. What's Mike Waldron's responsibility on Rick and Morty? He's handed Loki, handed Doctor Strange, and now he's going to get his fingers in X-Men. And you're like, what has this person done that is comic book related that makes them remotely interested in the material they're working with? It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. And they know they can't get away with lying about it because we've caught them over and over and over again when they say, no, I've been a huge fan. I've been a He-Man fan since I was a kid. And then they turn back the clock 10 years and you hear them saying, I never liked that show. I never watched it. I never had anything to do with it. We've caught them in the lies now. We've caught them in the lie over and over and over again when they say, oh no, I'm a huge fan, just like y'all, when they've never watched it. They've never cared about it. So they don't even bother saying any of that anymore because we just keep catching them in the lie. So now they're just like, oh, well, I know about this. But then they go back and they say, well, I never watched Revenge of the Sith. How the fuck can you write a show about what happens between Revenge of the Sith and Star Wars A New Hope without watching Revenge of the Sith? How do you do that? If they greenlit a Thing remake today and they were in promotion for it and the writer was asked about the short story and they said, what short story? I would not be surprised one iota. That's
who goes there? Yeah.
They wouldn't even know. No, they would just be unaware of what short story you're talking about. I said that we're following up the 2011 story. We're continuing that. They would run away from Carpenter. They'd run away from the genius that is that film, and yet they would probably be oblivious to the fact that there's a freaking incredible short story that should have been the primer for even getting the job.
Yes.
That's how
or know that there's a 1950s original movie that they've never heard of, that they've never seen, that they have no idea exists. Absolutely correct. And Carpenter followed that more closely than followed the book more closely than they did in the original black and white movie. They had to have a substantial monster. They couldn't have something absorbing and taking over people. They actually had a substantial Frankenstein monster. That's what they wanted. For the time, that's what they needed. And it worked. It worked beautifully. You've got this big monster that's terrorizing this group of people, and they're not pussies. It's almost all military. You got one scientist that's like, no, we will be friends. We will join with him and welcome him into the earth, and ends up killing him. This is what you get for your peaceful bullshit. It's like the people on top of a building on Independence Day in the ID4 holding up a sign that says, bring back Elvis, take me with you, yada, yada, and then they get fucking blasted. That's what happens.
I think that if that were to happen and they did this remake, you know what they would do? They would bring in one of those experienced writers at the last second. They did this on Kenobi. They brought in Andrew Stanton, who worked on like a bunch of the Pixar films or whatever. And what he would do is they would change a character's name or a nickname, and it would be Arness, which is, James Arness was the guy that played the creature in the original Thing. The black and white film, and they would just think they're so clever. That's such a great Easter egg. Don't you get that, Loki? We were paying homage to that film. We love that film that we've never seen or didn't even know existed before we actually. That's exactly what they're doing to all of our stuff. That's exactly what they're doing to all of these things. It is stolen valor because they're just playing off stuff that was good, trying to pretend that they are also good or that they know or that they even have any idea what they're talking about. It's all a facade. It's all just a sham, and it starts in the writer's room.
I've been going back through Trek. So I finished TNG. I'm in season 6 of Deep Space Nine, but I just watched the when Sacrifice of Angels when they retake Deep Space Nine. I can tell that no one involved in STD, in Picard, in Strange New Worlds has watched any of this, because this is the zenith. This is the top of the mountain. This is the top of the pyramid of Star Trek. This is the very best of the very best. You have huge character development. You have huge story. You have continuation of something that has been going on for the past 3 seasons. You have care and love, dedication to characters that haven't even been on your show when they bring Alexander in to reunite with his father Worf. They've got story arcs that are going back 5, 6 years, 7 years, and connecting 2 different television series in ways that nobody had ever thought of doing before. That is fucking Star Trek. It's not any of this shit Paramount and CBS are coming out with now. It has nothing to do with any of that. These writers can't even think of doing anything like this because it's beyond their grasp and it's beyond their talent, because no one is hiring talent. They're just picking names out of a hat. And if they do hire talent, that talent is quickly removed from the company because, by God, we can't have that. You get one good writer in there and they've got to get rid of him.
Yeah, that's
gentleman came into the writer's room in CBS and was gone within a couple of weeks because he was talking about personal experiences that happened in his life. He happened to use a word that they didn't like, and they got rid of him. And he was the best writer they had. Why would they do that? Because he was the best writer they had.
It reminds me of the snotty-nosed right out of college place that we were all at and that so many people are at. And David Mamet said it best because he referred to them as a room full of Jasons, like looking at you behind their dark rim glasses because they know so much better than you do. And they're just like, they're fresh out of college and they're still wet. Imagine David Mamet being treated that way by these people. That's how bad the writing is. Like, it's so asinine to me to think that Michael Waldron wrote Loki, and then in Doctor Strange we create a multiverse and references that doesn't tie into Loki, that creates a contradiction to Loki. They don't match now. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to give him more work. Like, no one cares. I guess they like the stolen valor thing, huh? Okay, fair enough. I think it's my thought. It just kind of popped in my head a little bit about So I don't know if Loki, I know you don't watch it. So obviously you've probably heard by now, Kenobi and Vader square off, and Obi-Wan
Yes.
hits his helmet and cuts it in half, which basically rips off Rebels. So that was when it popped in my head. Like, this is clearly like, it's supposed to pay homage, but it's not paying homage. It's literally just stealing the emotional response that I had when Ahsoka did this in Rebels. And I rewatched those scenes with Ahsoka, and the way they edit the music, the way they edit the scene is so much more powerful than this garbage that they threw out here. And everyone's so, oh, don't you see? Don't you see? I says, yeah, I see it. And it's like rat poison. It's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of looks pretty and that I even may like a little bit. But at the end of the day, there's a freaking poison pill hidden in there, and it's just freaking garbage. And it ruins the whole picture. I can't enjoy it. And it starts at the writing. Someone writes all this crap because they think it's good and clever, and they're just not. There are freaking bunch of middle school or high schoolers who are writing fan fiction and or an English project, and they're turning in like C- work, and then the producers get a hold of it and they make it worse, and then everyone pats them on the butt and says, "Oh, you did great because you made some money." So freaking, we're just doomed, man. I don't know what to say.
Well, this goes back. What you're talking about right now goes back to how I felt about Star Trek Into Darkness. You have got, in the original Wrath of Khan, you have got Nicholas
Meyer.
Thank you, Nicholas Meyer, who he was holed up in a hotel room with a projector in all the episodes of Star Trek. And he sat there and watched every single episode of the original series of Star Trek, then came in and said, we're doing Wrath of Khan. We're going to do a continuation of the Space Seed. Now, he didn't remake Space Seed. What he did was he said, we're going to take everything that happened here and we're going to have the battle of the century. What did J.J. Abrams do in Into Darkness? He just remade Wrath of Khan and wrapped it up in a different package. That's all he did, with different players. He didn't do anything original.
And no story arc.
And no story arc. These people don't do anything original. There is nothing original. The fight of the rematch of the century, guess what? They did it before. The inclusion of POC Reva, guess what? They've done that before. She's the bestest ever. All of this stuff they've done before.
So let's take Inner Darkness. It's a great example because they flip everything around, as people know, right? So in the original, it's about Kirk aging out, right? He's becoming like the old desk jockey, diplomat, where he is basically a warrior on the inside. And it's this journey about, dealing with your age, dealing with how you can still be valuable, what's important and not important. Obviously, he finds his long lost son in David. And then, of course, the loss of basically his like lifelong friend in Spock. We get the Inner Darkness version where that story arc should be applied to Spock, but can't because that doesn't work. They don't do it with Kirk because they want to flip it all around and make it like he's going to be the one to make the sacrifice. Well, that doesn't work either. So they think they're so clever. They just don't even understand the rudimentary principles of what makes the original so great. So when you see Reva, by the way, all these morons that are praising the show and Reva is not the problem, because let me explain. Reva doesn't even have a story that makes sense. We don't know how she survives the attack as a youngling because Anakin strikes her down. She, quote, plays dead. We don't understand. We don't understand how she's transformed into an Inquisitor. She doesn't look any different. She looks like a black human lady that's lifted right out of Baltimore with a bad attitude, who's impulsive, doesn't act like the Inquisitors. She allegedly figures out that Kenobi and the Organas are connected somehow. We're not really clearly told. There's allusions to it, but a lot of that's in your head, folks. It actually doesn't come out in the story. Then her plan is kidnap the kid, lure Obi-Wan out in the open, and then later it's revealed when they're whispering through the giant door, her plan is to somehow attack Vader. But then after she loses that, she gets struck down. Her plan is then go to Tatooine and kill Luke. We don't understand how she survived either time, and we don't understand why any of this makes any sense. But, quote, she doesn't kill Luke, so it's all okay. Freaking morons wrote this. Forget about the actress. Forget about her race. That doesn't even make any sense. I feel like I've watched a season that has 24 episodes, and they cut all of it out, and they left us with these 6, with just her storyline, by the way. And this is what we get, a whole bunch of convoluted mess that makes no sense. And they basically just cry about racism and they cry about her bad attitude and whatever. And I'm like, I don't even understand what the hell's going on. What is going, how did she even survive? Why is she, nothing makes sense. We're not told because no one cares.
No one cares. Joker, thank you so much for dropping by. Skull, my friend, have a great day.
Take care.
No, it doesn't make sense. And no, they're not going to explain anything to you. And how dare you ask for an explanation, Pops, when they've got it all thought out and they've got it all written out, and they don't have to prove to you that they do either. But just by asking for an explanation, you're an Istinobinyatsi.
That's why I guess I won't be invited back to their screenings and stuff anymore, because I've been cut out of that loop for sure from the Disney Marvel universe. So I get early screeners from some stuff, but not those folks. You can tell when you're in the room too with the critics, because they really are just, heads up their behinds kind of people. They think they're special. They have this sort of like self-imposed power that they think they have. I actually tried. I think I told you or someone else. I was like dusting off my profile. I had to reapply a profile on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's like there's so much red tape to get credentialed through them. I'm like, there's no way I would bother, because if I was so big to have this many viewers or this type of job, I don't need them. What the heck do I need a Rotten Tomatoes profile for? I'm going to go out and make my own freaking money. It's so stupid and retarded. So I put, if you go to my Rotten Tomatoes, if you even could find me, I have one review, and it's me of giving The Godfather 100, because Godfather is 100. I had to start my scale somewhere, and that's what I chose. None of it makes sense, because how can I be an honest critic and not even evaluate an actual story arc? Like, it's one thing if I'm just going to be biased and say, listen, something can stink, but you can have fun, right? You can say this about, I don't know a good example off the top of my head, like Jurassic World movies or something. Like, okay, they have issues, but you can like dinosaurs and you can have a good time. The movie's a freaking mess, but you can have a good time. But I can't pretend that the story is good on these shows and in these films, because they're just terrible. Scriptings can be written by people who failed a kindergarten level writing class. Boy, Snort Department, you absolutely are right, man. It is really
we were saying that before the show.
We were talking about that. Eavesdropping on us. I think we're not sure where they got out of writing. Like, I don't think they're actually writers. I think they're just people. Well, we know they're not, right? Doesn't Basha K. Ali got the Miss Marvel gig? She's like a podcaster. I'm not calling her a comedian, because I never heard her make jokes. I just heard her be mean at other people's expense, and then she got the gig, and now I guess she's gone. She's on to some other thing. But I will say, Miss Marvel is not the worst of the worst. There's things that are way worse than Miss Marvel. The problem is Miss Marvel is not about superheroes. It's not about Marvel. It's about some Pakistani Muslim family. I'm like, okay. I mean, if that's what you were going to market and brand it as, that would be one thing. But I have no idea who your target audience is.
And why hire someone like that just to say, well, we've got diversity? Is that all that matters? Is, well, we've got a diverse director. We've got a diverse director who's never done anything, but we brought them on to run this entire show. Really? You're really going to do that? Is that what you're really going to do? Is that what you want to do? I guess that's what you want to do. When it fails and you start pointing your fingers at everybody and saying that it's all your fault, it's all your fault that this show didn't work because you're an Istinobinyatsi. No, you hired a CAC staff to make the damn show. That's not our fault. That's your fucking fault. That doesn't make us Is-Obes and Yahtzees, because, oh my God, slay queen. You slay because you're a POC queen. No, it's your own damn fault. It's the same with casting. If you cast a nobody in a role and people do not like that nobody, it is not because someone does not like her skin color or does not like the fact of POC got cast on a show. Disney immediately coming out going, well, if you don't like Reba, then you're an Istinobinyatsi. We warned her about all you Istas and Obes and Yahtzees. She's a nobody who has done almost nothing. You brought her into a huge role where the damn show really revolves around her and not Obi-Wan. And your writing sucks.
when I ranted about episodes 1 and 2, I purposely tried to avoid even criticizing her because I don't think she was really relevant to anything that mattered. It was more like just a stupid character that was added for no reason. And forget about her for just all of the plot issues and the story issues that we have. We can just my video, I released my video today, and it just says, Reva didn't kill this series, the writers did. And this is kind of where we're at. People are all, you're actually absolutely right. Imagine someone like Critical Drinker and Mahler writing shows, or at least being advisors on things, because they analyze so many of these things. And like I said, whenever I would try to write something with any, girth to it, you always try to, I remember doing word searches. So I was trying to minimize repeating the same kind of words or phrases. I was trying to, figure out each little character arcs. And when we did Halo Loki, we both admitted not Dave Chappelle was the least of the problems on this show. We actually were cheering for him at certain points.
That's right.
He wasn't the problem. Like, Quan is this bitter, nasty little teenager that you want to punch in the face. Like, I'm like, do you have a puppy? Can I kick the puppy so I don't have to kick you? You are such a freaking irritating little punk kid. I got to be honest, when I was out in the middle of the desert with her, I probably would have just shot her. I mean, you're just done.
But Pops, you're ruining it.
I know. I'm angering the flock of scissoring hens right now by even acknowledging what they did, even though I like not Dave Chappelle. I told you I was cheering for Strawberry Spartan, man. She was almost like the kid with the helmet in middle school where you're like cheering for him, like, come on, dude, put him on the football team, let him run a kickback or something. That's how I was cheering for Strawberry Spartan. Come on, she can do it. Let her have a shot, man. Yeah, it's like the freaking, maybe that's what it is. Maybe we're just in like short bus version of pop culture now. We're like at the point now where all these writers have to be off the short bus. They're not actually qualified. They're just such morons. They think there's somebody holding their little Starbucks coffee in their designer bags. And oh my gosh. And how are they original when every single thing keeps doing the same thing? Like, don't you love the fact that they claim that they're being original or doing something special when they all keep doing it? Like, the CW did this crap like a decade ago at this point. Like, you guys are not freaking doing anything original. You're just doing the same nonsense over and over again.
I really think it has a lot to do with them scrambling for the streaming. It's a streaming war, whether anybody realizes that or not. We're in the middle of the streaming war, or we're coming. I believe we are coming close to the end of the streaming wars. CBS is trying to throw everything they can. CBS and Paramount are throwing everything at the wall, trying to make something stick. That includes Star Trek. That includes Halo. They pulled all their Star Trek off of everything. I think you can watch DS9 to the end of the month on Netflix, and then it's gone. Wherever Paramount CBS ends up after their streaming service fails, that's what's going to get all the Star Trek. Because they pulled all the Star Trek back to their streaming service, and that's their draw for you. It's not just new content now. They've got to have all the old shit too. So they want everything under one house, and they're throwing everything at a wall. Disney, through Marvel and Star Wars, are throwing everything they can at Disney Plus to try and get your attention. Come subscribe to Disney Plus. You've got to be a part of Disney Plus to see Kenobi, to see Miss Marvel, to see Loki, to see all these shows, to see these certain movies. You got to have Disney Plus. Come get some. HBO's done the same thing with Warner Brothers and DC. And we're going to come to the end of this, and we're going to find out that these companies threw billions of dollars into product that sucks. And they pointed their fingers at everyone else and said, no, it's your fault that our show's gotten bad reviews. It's review bombing. It's bots. It's Vladimir Putin. It's everyone else's fault but ours.
Because they're all going down together. They're all, and they don't even understand the consumer. So let's play devil's advocate. How could we fix it? Because if I were to fix it, here's what I would do. Let's assume I'm Disney, and it's not. We're going to hit a wall. Like, we just know it's coming. We can see the numbers for ourselves. Wouldn't it be so much wiser while you try to scale back the development and focus more on quality than just quantity, and then reach out to smaller licenses? Let's say you go to the BBC products, you go to maybe Australian products, stuff like that. Maybe you try to figure out with stuff that's being made in India and Korea, and you figure out how to license exclusive contracts through them to beef up some content for, this has a 6-month contract, 2-year contract, whatever. And you try to go back to kind of what Netflix originally did was they were just licensing other people's content, and then they try to ramp up some original content. And basically, they're all basically just following Netflix's lead down the tunnel to disaster, financial ruin. They're going to be so massively in debt. They're going to ultimately bleed out subscribers because we as the customer can just keep bouncing streaming service as we want for a month or so, or maybe a few months, or even a year. And then we just bounce to something else and consume all that nonsense and then go do something else because we're not really missing out on anything.
No, we're not. No, we're not missing out on anything.
You and I, we gave up cable, what, 10 years ago? How long was you gave your cable?
That's 10 years to that. It was, it was 2011, 2012. So 10 years ago. I was one of the very first cord cutters. I was like, nope, bitches, I'm tired of paying your fees. I will watch Netflix. Yeah,
I ramped up around that. Maybe it may have been that time, maybe even a little bit earlier, because I switched over because I realized that I could, because of the amount of physical copies I had and digital overlays, I started putting in all my digital codes for the stuff that just comes free with your physical copies. And I started having like hundreds and hundreds of things that we owned. So now the kids can all watch them in their room. We can have control of what they watch. I'm like, okay, so hang on. So wait a minute, what are we missing out on? And it was like, oh, well, we like to watch this show. I was like, okay, well, I'll just buy the show for $20.
Yep.
So when the cable bill goes up to $150 to $200, you're like, screw this. I am out. See ya, folks. Because for $100 a month, I sure can buy a whole lot. I was telling somebody yesterday, you guys do realize like Vudu has movies like every single day for like $5 or 3 for $15 every single day. So just go build your own freaking digital library. Even if you have physical copies, you can do it yourself.
Yep, I've got almost 1,000 titles on Vudu because of the codes. Because look, an old series I like that's got hours of content is $10 right now on Vudu. Yeah, I'll buy it. Do I want the physical copy? Yes, and I've done that. I've done that. I did that with Stargate because I've got all the Stargate on Vudu, yet I have my physical copies too. Why? Because it's so much easier to keep my physical copy on the shelf looking pretty, and all I have to do is click a button on my TV. That's it.
I can't get a number on my Vudu account, but my Movies Anywhere, which links a lot of it, says $5.94. But when you factor in, because that doesn't count all of the, how you buy like those packages, like 10 movies for $30. Those don't count. Like if you buy I think I bought like all of the Trek movies are like in a bundle, so those don't count. So 1,000 is easy digitally, plus the physical copies and stuff like that. So cord cutting's easy.
And I remember people like my mom back in the day would be like, well, how do you look at the weather? I'm like, I just get on the internet and look at the weather. Yeah, but what if you're out? I get on the internet on my phone and look at the weather. It's not like you have to watch the news. I don't want to watch the damn news. I don't want to watch commercials. That's the biggest turnoff for me with Hulu. That's why I don't do Hulu. I don't want to watch freaking commercials. If I'm paying a fee, which they are bringing to Netflix, ladies and gentlemen, they are bringing commercials to Netflix.
Thelma and Louise over the cliff, baby, with commercials on Netflix. People are going to flee like you've never seen. No one wants freaking commercials on Netflix. So,
and they do that on Amazon. They do that on Amazon already. They'll give you a little preview. Oh, this series is coming to Amazon in the fall. Oh, Rings of Power, the greatest Lord of the Rings series of all time, is coming to Amazon Prime. They'll do all that shit at the beginning, and you're just like, whatever, unless you pay for it. If you watch it on Prime, if you watch it on one of the channels you pay for, unless you buy a copy of it, you're going to get a commercial on it.
So even like you were saying with weather, because in Florida, obviously we had a hurricane at one point. We didn't have cable. Folks, YouTube has streaming weather, guys, just so y'all know. Like it's okay to find actual like live weather maps, interactive nonsense. Forget about just like the internet part of what Loki was saying. If you actually wanted to listen to a person, it's out there. Like this is what we saw with like the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, right? We had live streaming of a case. Like this just literally replaces the need for all of this network content. It's all just garbage.
And you
And now
wonder why
all
they
the-
hate us.
Of course they hate us because we have replaced and we're criticizing everything they do. Like this was the same thing as with the critics thing. Why I couldn't be in the circle. I remember coming out. Did you watch that Tolkien biography with Nicholas Holt? It's called
yes.
Tolkien.
Tolkien.
What did you think of it? Yeah, I hated it. I was so freaking bored out of my mind, and I'm like, there's so much richness to.
Honestly, I'd rather watch all of the stuff that's included in the
bonus features?
extras in the movies. Yes.
Amen,
yes.
brother. Amen. Because even when they were trying to go for he's writing and being inspired by the war, it was never graphic. It never got you really there, and you're like, and then they try to just focus so much on how he's just a weird human. So I came out of this. I was actually sent for free. They gave us permission to film in a theater, which is unheard of, by the way. And other critics actually came over to talk to us more than other fans did. And I think I only have like a clip on my YouTube channel, like one or two people talking to me because they would sign the waiver. But at the time, I was so shocked. One guy was like, well, this is going to be Oscar worthy and it's going to be this and so needs to be nominated for this award. And I'm like, did these people see the same freaking movie that I just saw? Like what? And the person that I was with, my +1 was the same way. He's like, dude, what are you talking about? What's happening right now? When we got in the car, we were driving back. He's like, are they always like that? I said, yes, they are. Their heads are so far up their butts. It's very rare they will see things the way we see them.
Or daylight, for that matter.
Very true. Hence the reason they probably run into things and they damage themselves and they need to wear that helmet.
But yeah, did you know that there was one company that was making all the arms and armor on the Lord of the Rings films, and they were working in like a shack and producing all of that equipment?
Wow. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, it's like they just had a handful of people in this shack making all this armor, making all these weapons, making all the little extras, and it's just like you watch that and you listen to that how they did it and how they were almost completely overwhelmed. That made that company. Those movies made that company. When you're little, it's like the special effects team for Star Trek: The Next Generation. I don't know if you've ever heard that story or not. That again, this little tiny company that said, yes, we can do it. And they made all the space scenes. They used the models. They made the models, and the way they overlapped everything onto video was like, it's like nobody had ever thought of doing it that way before. And it made that company. They were completely overwhelmed with the work. It was always down to the wire, but they got it done and they did it, and it made that company. It's things like that. When you're just when you're little nobodies, an opportunity comes along and it's like, here, we're going to give this to you guys. And can you do it? Yes, we can do it. And whether it's down to the wire or not, and they get the job done, and it makes a company what it is. Same thing with Lord of the Rings.
So again, here's another factor that we didn't really tie in too much is basically because of the computers, CGI. You were talking about the 360 screens they can use because they CGI'd in stormtroopers and some of the scenes in Kenobi. There's obviously not that many actors standing there. It's very clear that they're literally like so stiff and rigid. They're actually not human beings. There's just no way. So it just made them all lazy. Right? We're talking about this with things. Look at all the set design, the character design, the costuming. I heard someone admit, and I forget if it was one of the I think it was one of the Transformer movies. They CGI'd in dirt on the face after one of the explosions because it was a shot that the director missed. And I'm like, okay. But then on the next film, they approached it all of, oh no, we can just fix that in post.
That's right.
Try to do it with practical. Like what on earth? Like, but now we're so far down this rabbit hole. They just go into everything as though the computer guys can just fix it. Well, now they can't even get computer guys to fix it because they're so short-staffed and no one wants to freaking work for these people for peanuts. So now you just get crap versions of things that don't even make sense. So
yes.
Southern
Viking, screw CGI. Say we would go back to old school Ray Harryhausen stop motion.
Harryhausen, old school. Yeah, that's some good stuff. Clash of the Titans, man.
That's
I'll
right.
Never forget seeing that at a friend's. So my mom took us to like a what do they call the girls, like bridesmaid party or whatever? Like, I don't know what it's called. Anyway,
Wedding shower?
like a wedding shower. Yeah. And so I was like, I don't know when did Clash of Titans come out? Like 80?
80, something like that. It was in the 80s.
So I was like 9, 10, 11, whatever I was. And so I was stuck in this room with someone else's kid and just VHS tapes. And it was the first time I saw Clash of the Titans was with Troy Sargent, a kid that grew up to hate me in high school because he was kind of a Nimrod. And I didn't want to let him forget that we saw Clash of the Titans. And then he wanted to watch Rambo First Blood, I think. It was like two very conflicting films back to back. That was, what a memory that is. Harryhausen. All right.
McKinney draws. Part of the reason why I love Ghostbusters Afterlife was its big focus on practical effects.
Yeah,
See, I'm a firm believer that yes, you can use CGI if it is to add something. Like they did when we found out that Dark Crystal, the television series, was coming out from Netflix. They did a CGI. They did like a CGI scene for Netflix, and Netflix said, no, we don't want that. We want the actual puppets. We want actual sets. We want actual sets. We want actual puppets. We want it. And that's absolutely freaking crazy. We want it to be what it was when Jim Henson did it. And they said, okay, well, one of the things that you can't even tell that they did was they CGI'd the faces on all the puppets. So you've got a practical effect, except for the Skeksis, and there was a couple others. But almost all the Gelflings that talk and have emotion in their face and surprise and all of that was done with CG. I have absolutely no problem with that. Why? Because you've got a physical puppet that has physicality in the real world. You're just adding something to it.
Sure. It was a matte painting in the thing, right? We're talking about the big crater shot with the spaceship. So they actually helicoptered in like the top cockpit looking portion of the ship. And then they all stand around the edge. So you have all the ice and the ridge and the people. And then they used the matte painting to put in the edges of the ship sticking out from the snow. So it was all real, and you had some real elements. It was just enhanced with more depth using the matte painting. Now, of course, using that with CGI, they can even be more creative. But reality is they've gone too far. They won't even do any of the senses in realism. They won't do anything that grounds us in the real life. Or they cheat. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm sick of watching shows on my phone where it's so freaking black I can't even see anything. Like, I'm trying to watch this Hulu show called The Old Man with Jeff Bridges, but I got to be honest, there's probably like 5 to 8 minutes of it that I can barely see anything. I can kind of follow along, but it's
Pops, your 4K screen's out of tune.
I don't give a freak.
You didn't tune it right, because that's what we all got told with Game of Thrones.
I have a Samsung phone. If it's not good enough, then I just won't watch your crap. Sorry. I'll just find something else to watch. All right, I'll move on. There's got to be something else to watch. It's freaking great. Yes, Monkey Jeebus. I said cockpit. There you go. Take that out of context and make a meme out of that, I'm sure.
Project Cambrian, it's having the talent and artistry to know when it's appropriate to use a tool like CGI and how much too many, however, use it as a crutch. Yep. That's right. We'll fix it with this. We'll do this and put this in there. We'll add this to it. We'll take this out and we'll replace it with this. Yes.
Oh man, you know what? That would be we should do a film. We should figure out how to do this film. Get Adega, you need to start on the script. Let's do this. We need to do a comedy about CGI artists that have this really simple job, but they're obsessed with job security. So they think they have to put CGI everywhere, and it becomes like a comic, almost like comic relief, almost like over the top. Like we CGI everything. So let's say it was just a scene of them in a kitchen, but they CGI the banana, but the banana's too big, or it pixelates, and it's so over the top. We have to start mocking this stuff with it. That's a comedy that would work.
And this is going to be horrible 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Go back and watch, and as much as people love it, and I don't know why people love this movie so fucking much, go back and watch Avatar. There's shit in that movie that looks terrible now. It has not held its quality. It hasn't. Go back and watch it. How many scenes in the prequel trilogy of Star Wars were filmed completely on a green screen? a green screen stage. There's nothing physical there. They're just on a green screen stage. How much of that was done? A lot. Go back and watch the prequels.
I hated Avatar to begin with. There's a, that animator that how the movie should have ended, guys. They do the little cartoons. Yeah, that little clip of how Avatar should have ended was exactly what was in my head. Like, this is such a freaking stupid film. And then that was later that I heard someone make the Pocahontas reference. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Blue Pocahontas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, listen, a lot of things are not going to. The problem, too, is we're also becoming desensitized to the CGI is so common everywhere.
I always thought dances with blue people.
Dances with blue people. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Oh, yeah, they digitally removed Henry Cavill's mustache. I know it just still bothers me so much.
And you can still see it.
Oh, yeah.
You can still see it. So, and it makes his lip look,
all completely strange and weird. And
that's there to stay. Ladies and gentlemen, that is there to stay. It's not going anywhere.
Dances with Smurfs. Good job, Dean Grant.
I love that. Yes. I remember when people were loving what's that, Last Samurai. I was like, it's not Last Samurai. It's Dances with Samurai. It's dances. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just a retelling of the same story we got back in the 90s. So.
And you can understand some of the derivation because you understand that's how Hollywood works. Like, they're just such idiots at the top. They're like, okay, this made money, make this. Top Gun Maverick made a whole bunch of money. What other 1980s scripts do we have that can be in production right now? And they're all doing this right now. They're all scurrying around, getting their stuff greenlit. I assure you. So, we triggered our Arwen.
And we triggered Arwen.
With Dances with Blue People. That's freaking great, though. You got to give us credit for that. That was good. Loki hit the nail on the head there. Dancing with Smurfs, Dancing with Blue People. It's good.
I'm just tired. I don't want to see any more. I'm not going to go and watch any more movies. They're completely done on a green screen or with CGI. If it's a CGI movie, like what you got with Final Fantasy Advent Children, there is a reason why it's a CG movie. It is almost like an animated movie. There are no real people inserted into the CGI movie. It's not like we've got a cast of 5 people surrounded on a green screen stage. No, it's a CGI movie. There are places for it. But I'm not going to watch any of this shit anymore. I'm not. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Give us some physicality or get the fuck out. I want something real.
Chat, you're not funny, by the way. Iron Eagle, I could definitely see that being done immediately. And by the way, Chris Persia, there is a Last Starfighter remake going with our lovely Bryce Dallas Howard, because she's a starlet over at the Disney machine. So we're going to do it. And I swear I can't find the presser. I think they deleted some press on that one because Last Starfighter was allegedly going to be reboot with a female lead. And I was going to do a video on that. And I couldn't find that.
Yeah, it's his daughter.
Yeah.
It's his daughter. It's him and Mags' daughter that has no idea her dad's up in space because he abandoned her. He abandoned her.
It's stupid, man. This people, we should stop giving them ideas.
Daddy issues. Always got to be with the daddy issues. There's always got to be a daddy issue. Anyway, guys, thank you so very much for hanging out with me and Pops.
We blew through an hour like that, man.
We blew through an hour.
And so 3:30 this afternoon, man, we'll do a Dan Lawless. You guys can come hang out with comic creator and artist Dan Lawless. That's at 3:30.
Oh yeah.
And next week we'll be complaining and whining again about media and YouTubes and all that kind of stuff on Talk Hard. So that'll be next Tuesday.
Amazing, we did this without a plan. Pops popped in here about 15 minutes before we went live. So what are we talking about today? I have absolutely no fucking idea.
Neither do I. And I was complaining about writing. He's like, "That's good enough. Let's go with that." I said, "Oh, you're gonna wind me up and turn me loose about writing because that's literally like my wheelhouse, like all like scripts and stories and character arcs and all that." So you'll hear me complain about this all the time. Like, "Yep, let's do that. Let's see what happens if I just stir you up." Like, there you go. That's what you get, folks.
Yep. Oh, great! So they're gonna make a hero out of the first movie, a deadbeat dad. Yes.
Well, they love making deadbeat dads. That's what they did to Han Solo.
Thank you for being here, Arwen Avalon. Thank you all for being here and hanging out with me and Pops today. We will be back later tonight with 7 Kinds of Mischief as me and Adega Outlaw take on the strange, the weird, and the unexplained. And then tomorrow we've got our Orville review. First thing Friday morning, and of course the late show for Friday night. But until then, be great, be excellent to each other. Always speak friend to enter. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Love you, Valhalla.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.